Hi everyone, it's Cindy, and I'm doing the 10 Crafty Questions challenge. Sabrina tagged me, and so I wanted to get that off my desk, so to speak. And the first question is, what is your name? And yep, that's what it is, Cindy Matthews. The name my daddy gave me, and so, well, apart from the Matthews, I got that when I married my husband. So yeah, I just had signed up for to watch YouTube videos years ago, and never dreamed that someday I would have a channel with content, and I haven't gotten around to changing it. I really should. I want to add, I want to change my YouTube name, which is the next question. What is your YouTube name? And my YouTube name right now is Cindy Matthews, obviously. I want to add Aerodel Art Studio, which is what my Etsy shop's name is, and that comes from when we bought this house 37 years ago. Not long afterward, I was doing visitation for church with my best friend. We visited a lady who had actually grown up on this property, and it was her parents' farm. And, you know, all the surrounding area, obviously, was their great big farm. And it was called Aerodale Farms, she told us in that visit. And so I've always sort of held on to that as something I wanted to do something with someday. So when I needed a name for my shop on Etsy, I just pulled that out and used it. I like the sense of history and association with the past that we get by my using that name. So that's where that comes from. Then my next question is my favorite craft. I'm going to have to say paper crafting. I've been paper crafting in one form or another since I was just a little kid. And I'm sorry, I'm leaving you with this blank space to look at. I had another plan in mind, but I'll do that in a second here. Anyway, I've always loved paper crafting. I've done it since I was little with newspapers to make paper hats and boats, or pulling pieces of notebook paper out of my sister's notebooks to draw and write, and, you know, just, I had a vivid imagination and a lot of time at home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom most of the time when I was little, and so, yeah, I just played and crafted them. And the next question is, oh, another question down below. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before I move on, I want to show you this. I wanted to do this at the beginning and I forgot. Yes, 3 days ago, something like that, I was fooling around with alcohol inks. I wanted to try out my alcohol lift ink and discovered that it wouldn't work with the paper that I had on hand. You have to have a non-porous surface, and I don't have anything like that on hand. Not thick enough anyway. You can use acetate, but it has to be a heavier acetate than I have. So I just made some pretty papers with alcohol inks on them. The next day, I was working on my latest project, and I was using my 3D embossing folders, and realized, I thought, wonder what those alcohol ink papers would look like with these embossing folders, and let me show you. I think they look really good. This is the botanical folder, or yeah, embossing folder result, and I think it's so pretty. I love the depth of the embossing, and yeah, and so here's another one with that folder, and this is my favorite because that little fuchsia flower got in that purple splotch just like it was meant to be, and love all the reds. So there's that one. And then the other folder I have is called a kaleidoscope. And, yeah. And I just love how, I don't know, it just sort of integrates into the paper. It doesn't look like, you know, smashed paper. It looks like, almost like a plastic sheet of some kind. And here's another one using the kaleidoscope embossing folder. Just love the way that looks. Not sure what I'm going to do with these. I will use them somehow. They just don't happen to work into the colors don't work with the project I'm working on now. But yeah, I'll use them somehow, sometime soon. When you least expect it, you'll see them again. So back to my questions. The next one is your favorite store, your favorite craft store, I'm presuming. It's either Crafty Questions. My favorite craft store locally would have to be Michael's. We do have an AC Moore and Joann's. I don't get to any of them often. They're all difficult for me to shop in physically. I've mentioned that I'm disabled. I use a walker most of the time. Or when I'm out, I try to use a scooter. We take mine sometimes. Or I use the store's scooters if they have one. Joann and AC Moore are not conducive to me using a scooter. They're both cluttered stores. They have stuff in the aisles, or their aisles are very narrow, and it's difficult to make those turns without knocking into something. Michael's is wonderful in that it's a large store and it's got lots of space in the aisles, and I can use my scooter easily. So if I'm going to shop locally, that's where I prefer to do it. But only with my scooter. I don't like to use my walker there because it's too far. I get exhausted. So those are the local stores. However, online I shop a variety of different places. I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. If I find the item I want is cheaper there, that's where I buy it. I buy a lot of stuff from my friend Diane at a Pretty Pink Cottage. A lot of my vintage stuff I get from her. She just has the best luck shopping and comes home with great stuff that she puts in her shop. And I buy stuff from scrapbook.com, from blitsy.com, from eBay. I'm just a careful shopper. I like to know I'm getting a good deal. Nothing irks me more than to buy something today and then 2 days later find it cheaper somewhere else. I want to know when I buy it that I'm getting the best price I possibly can. Rarely, if ever, will I pay full price for something. The most I'll do is to use a coupon. Yeah, that's me. So those are the places I usually shop, and it's all about money for me. The top 5 channels that I watch Jennifer McGuire. I think she's amazingly gifted with what she can do with paper and ink and all the stuff we like to play with. She's a card maker primarily, and so what I do with her, because I do make cards, but mostly I make books or other kind of projects that use the same kinds of techniques or can have the techniques adapted to use with them. I will watch Christina Werner. I think she has great ideas, and she has such a strong art background that she brings that real painterly technique to her work, as well as she just has tremendous creativity. I like to watch Christina. I watch Gail Agostinelli. She has a real gift for making books, and she's just the sweetest person. Her videos are so much fun. I watch my friend Diane. Diane H is her channel name. She's from a Pretty Pink Cottage on Etsy. I like to see what she does with all the great stuff she finds, and I like to see just her books in general. She makes beautiful books. And I also watch Jackie at Jacq'sScraps. Jack's a lot of fun, and she also has terrific design ideas. She's now on a couple of design teams, and it's fun to see what she does with the supplies provided. And, yeah. And, let's see, who else do I have on my little list here? Oh, Nick the Booksmith. Can't forget Nick. As far as bookmaking goes, Nick's the bomb. She's she's it. She has tremendous skill and creativity, and she's so precise in her work. I really admire that. I tend to be a little bit on the haphazard side. Nick is she's it. She has so many great ideas. So So yeah, make the booksmith. Question 6. Favorite colors. My favorite color is lime green. And the brighter the better. And I like pink with it. If it's a bright pink, lime, I want a bright pink. If it's a softer lime, I want a softer pink. But I think those two colors really complement one another well, and I like them together. Otherwise, I'm not a huge pink fan. I mean, I like pink. I like all colors, obviously. I mean, artists like color. But, yeah, that's me. The next question is my favorite craft tools. Well, let me tell you. I'm a tool junkie. Most of us are, I think. I probably, the most reached for things are my Tim Holtz craft scissors. I have all 3 sizes. Lost the little cover for these, which I regret because they are sharp. I use all 3 pair, but I don't think that... I probably use these most often because I do a lot of fussy cutting. But these are wonderful for cutting long, straight cuts. These are great when you need power, when you're cutting through something really tough. I like the shorter, they work really well for that. The other scissors I use most often are my Fiskars titanium scissors. I use these for fussy cutting as well. These have a little bit of a serrated edge on one blade, and they give a different finish to your paper. I like the smoother cut sometimes, so yeah, I use all those. I also have countless other scissors. This isn't a scissors thing, so I'm not going to tell you that. I just have lots of scissors. These are the ones I use most often. I also like my Teflon bone folder. Some of you know that I just recently sent one to Sabrina, and I bought them both on Amazon. They were just about $7, I think. I've been wanting one for a long time. A lot of paper crafters use them. And the advantage with the Teflon bone folder is that if you use a plastic bone folder, like I've been using for years, on cardstock, it can leave the edge of your cardstock where you've used the bone folder, make it shiny. It leaves a shiny spot on your cardstock. This won't do that. And I love that about it. I also love that it's got some flex to it, so that it's just not this unforgiving hard object in your hand, I guess. It's very comfortable to use, that's what I'm trying to say. And it wipes perfectly clean. I've had this covered with ink, and it comes clean every time. My Martha Stewart heavier bone folder does not. It looks really pretty grubby. So I like that. Also love my Tim Holtz retractable craft pick. It's my pokey tool, and I love it. I love it. I'd buy another one in a heartbeat if I needed to. In fact, I was ready to. I had put this away in the wrong place and looked for it for weeks before I found it with my embossing supplies, which I obviously hadn't used for weeks, or I'd have found it sooner. My embossing powders and such like. I don't do a lot of that. When I do it, I enjoy it, but I don't do it every day. And when I finally found it, I was like, hallelujah, thank you, Lord, and all that stuff. So, love that. I also, one of my favorite tools is my paper trimmers. And I have a bunch of different ones. And I use them all probably equally. I have the big Fiskars Precision trimmer. I'm not going to haul that out. I love that. I do a lot with chipboard. It cuts through it like butter. And it's precise, and it's self-sharpening. What's not to love about that cutter? Just love it. But if I'm going to cut a single sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock in half or quarters or whatever, this is what I reach for. I just don't feel the need to haul that big one out. And this can be hauled out without having to clean everything else off my desk. Then I have this little 6-inch trimmer. Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, has an old one that she got, I think she said from Creative Memories back in the day, and hers is purple, whatever, if that means anything to anybody. And I looked for one for a while. I found this one on Amazon for $6.75 or something. It was one of those add-on purchases. And so I just had to have it. I use it a lot making cards. Use it when I use my 6x6 papers. It's very stable for a 6x6 paper because it just holds a 6x6 paper under its little stabilizer here. And I love that. It's very easy to get a precise cut with this. But probably the one I use most often is this one. This is the Tim Holtz 8.5-inch guillotine trimmer. And 8.5 applies from here to here, top to bottom. It's got little stops that make it fit just right in there. And it cuts smoothly, it's precise, it's the perfect size, it's lightweight, and it easily slips in and out. I have a little cubby over here with all my trimmers in, and I keep this one most accessible. Everything else is under or behind something, so this is the one I reach for most often, and couldn't recommend it more. And I love my embossing machine, my die cutting machine, my Big Shot. I think it's everything I need it to be, and yeah. And there's so many other things that I just love. Of course, I love paper. We all use tons of paper, and I'm not even doing favorite papers because, too many. Question number 8 is, where did I get my love of crafting? That came from my mother. My mother was born in 1925. Right before the Depression. She grew up, obviously, in the midst of the Depression, but she was a middle child of 9. When she was 9 years old, coincidentally, she was sent out to work as a mother's helper. All of her paycheck, which was very small, like $1.50 a week, but bought a lot of food for, a family so large. Went back to my grandparents. She got nothing out of that. She got room and board with the family she lived with. So, yeah. She could take a dime and make it act like a quarter. She just was very, very frugal, and she knew how to stretch things and make do. She could take a little bit of nothing and end up decorating a room in the house for just pennies on, she just was really, really good at things. She made, and she adjusted, and she trimmed, and she remade, and she retrimmed, and yeah, she was just really, really good at that, and I grew up knowing how to do that. So yeah, I give it all to my mom. And when did I start crafting? I don't remember not crafting. Growing up in Mom's house, it was just always something we did. From making salt dough to she always would make dough with flour, salt, and water with food coloring for us to play with. She would make, we made our own pastes. We made Christmas decorations and Easter decorations and Halloween costumes. I didn't have a store-bought costume until I was 7 or 8. So I've been in school a couple of years and saw that other kids got store-bought costumes, and I wanted one. And I discovered they weren't nearly as much fun as the ones my mom came up with. Always won Halloween costume contests with Mom's costumes. Didn't win anything with the one that was store-bought. And my last question is my favorite craft project. Well, I have a million favorite craft projects, but probably the easiest way to answer that is my favorite craft project is almost always the one I'm working on. I love the process, and so I'll show you what I'm working on now. I'm using the Graphic 45 Princess Collection. Let me show you that pad if you haven't seen it. I did a video when I bought it, but here's what the paper collection looks like. This is the cover, and this is the cover page. And so I fussy cut this cover in all kinds of ways, or this cover sheet rather, to make this, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And this is my latest book. This is the cover. I used some fabric I picked up on Amazon or on eBay for cheap from China, and just some covered chipboard. This is covered with pink cardstock from Michaels, and there's the inside waiting for the guts to be applied. So, and I'm not positive what I'm going to do inside the covers, but this is layered. This is some fabric that I came up with. It was a pale yellow with a sort of a gold undertone, and I thought it would be pretty with some cheesecloth to make a drape behind the two princesses. And I sprayed it with a Tattered Angels Shimmer Mist, and I think it's called Wedding Pink. And so it totally changed the look of it. I like how it turned out. I love the texture it adds. Layered flowers that I fussy cut and then put on dark brown cardstock to give it sort of a depth. This is also fussy cut out of that page and moved that over and up. I made a little valance out of the same page, but some of the excess that wasn't appropriate for what I was doing. And I just made the little dental pieces, and then I layered it on cardstock to give it some strength, and covered it, and put it in there and glued these pieces on top. I'm just really happy with how it turned out. Hope you're seeing all of it, because I think it's really, really pretty. And so yeah, that's my favorite project right now. I'm sure next month it'll be something else that I'm working on. That's just the kind of way I am. I do have some favorite polymer clay projects. I didn't bring them back. But with polymer clay I build houses and boxes and things like that. And so I have some pieces like that I really like. But yeah, I didn't lug them back. A lot of them are in the living room. We have my husband really got into my little houses, and I made a little village, basically, and he put shelves up in the living room, so they circle the room with my little general store and jail and dress shop and all that kind of stuff. Maybe someday I'll show you those. So, and now the question is, who am I going to tag? So I want to tag Jackie from Jacq'sScraps. I want to tag Shell Ratcliffe, the Rambling Crafter, and Rosita Brown, and Amanda at Micklebird and Mooch, and Sherry at Turquoise Dreams. I don't know why I had such a long list, but that's who I've got. So I'm gonna tag all these people, and hopefully they'll make their videos soon. So please come back. Thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe. See you soon.